What is up, guys? Randomodium here with your Week 8 Fantasy LCS roster management video. In this video, I'm going to break down all of my fantasy leagues and let you guys know who I'm going to be starting for Week 8. Give you a little bit of strategy for the last 2 weeks of the fantasy season. So I've got 6 fantasy leagues. I will be talking about some of the things that happened in the previous weeks. So this is your spoiler warning. So let's get into my first fantasy league. So I've got Smitty J and Odo as my two top laners for this week. And Giants had a very disappointing week last week, but Odo has not been putting up that many points as well. Actually, he only got 6 points more than Smitty J last week, even though Smitty J had his worst week in a long time. And then this week, Giants is up against Vitality and Origin. And I do think there is a possibility that Vitality and Origin could tie or beat Giants, but I think it's much more likely that Giants will win those games. So I'm going to keep Smitty J in, even though it says his estimated points is really low. I think he'll actually get more points than Odo. For Jungle, I have Svenskeren and Meteos. So both of them are going up against the exact same teams this week, which is kind of weird. But if we look at what points they got last time, Cloud9 actually did much better than TSM. If we look at the historical week to week, Meteos was definitely better at the beginning of the split, but Svenskeren has started to do better towards the latter half of the split. So the way I would characterize this pick is I would say that Svenskeren is a safer pick, but Meteos probably has higher point potential. So for right now, I'm going to keep Svenskeren in, but then I'm going to look at who I'm going up against later on. And if I feel like I really need those points, then I'll probably take a risk and substitute in Meteos. For mid lane, I have Pobelter and I have Knight. I'm also going up against Apex and NRG, so that's definitely a really safe pick having Pobelter there. I might have Knight as flex, but I'm definitely going to have Pobelter as my starter for AD carry. For mid lane. For AD carry, I have Wild Turtle and I have Kabi. Splice is a really difficult week. They're going up against HK and Fnatic. Mortal's much easier week, so I'm going to keep Wild Turtle in. And then we have Adrian at support. That's fine. He's my only support. And then if we look at the flex picks, I have Knight, Odo, Meteos, or Kabi. And if we look at what their points were the last time they played their opponents, obviously the clear winner there is Knight. If we look at week to week, besides week 7, Knight's been doing really well. He's gotten quite a few good points. I think he's probably the best of the picks. I think he'll do fairly well against Vitality and Origin, so I'll keep him at flex. And then my team is Giants, which is fine. I don't think there are any better teams than Giants right now. I could pick up Cloud9. That could be a good choice, but if we go to the actual stats for teams, let's see. Giants has actually been pretty low. Cloud9 is pretty high. Cloud9 does have a really favorable week this week. If I can go over to the schedule and look at what their week 9 is like, they're going up against Echo Fox and Liquid. Okay. And then if I go to Giants, they're going up against Shaka and Roccat, which is really favorable for them. So, I actually think that I'm going to pick up Cloud9 because they have a really easy week this week. I think they'll get quite a few team fantasy points. And that'll also diversify my team a little bit more since I'm going to be starting Knight and Smitty J. So I don't want to become too reliant on Giants, which have been kind of hit or miss. So I think that's about as good as I'm going to get for this fantasy league. So I'll move on to my next fantasy league where my top laners are either Seraph or Expect. Pretty sure that, Envy's got a really hard week. Cloud9 and TSM. G2's got Unicorns 11 Chalka, definitely a much easier week, so I'm going to keep Expect in top lane. Jungle, I have Trick and Meteos. That's really actually kind of a toss-up. If we look at historical, though, Trick's been playing really well the past 3 weeks, so I think I'm going to keep him as a starter. For mid lane, my options are either Knight or Perks. I think I'm going to probably go with Perks, actually. Yeah, I think Perks is probably a little bit more consistent than Knight. Knight definitely has higher point potential, but I'm going to put in Perks for right now. I might put in Knight for as my flex. If we look at AD carry, I have Fabi and I have Sunstar. And both of them have pretty favorable weeks. I think that Liquid could go 2-0 this week, and I also think that Giants could go 2-0 this week. Fabi, of course, didn't play in week 2. So if we look at the points, actually fairly even. I mean, Fabi definitely did much better than Giants last week. So I might want to start Fabi, and then I'll probably start Sunstar overnight in the flex spots. That way I can get maximum diversity on the team. Yeah, Sunstar pretty much always gets higher points than Knight. So I'll put in Sunstar there. And I think that's about as good as I'm going to get for that team. I can look at the trade tab, see if there's anybody available. Freeze is available, Keen's available, Fox is available. Nah, I think we're good for that team. All right, so we'll move on to the next league. So for my next league, I have Seraph and I have Odo are my choices for top lane. Envy has a really hard week. Splice also, H2K also has a difficult week in Splice. I think that's going to be a really close matchup. I do think that H2K is better than Vitality, though. So I think that Envy is going to have 2 hard matchups, and they could go 0-2. I think that H2K will at least tie Splice, and they should be able to beat Vitality. So I think that Odo will probably have higher points. But that's really a tough one. I'm going to put him in right now, but I might change my mind later. Yankos versus Trick. I know that Trick's been playing a lot better than Yankos has, so I'm going to keep Trick in. Mid lane, my options are Phoenix or Knight. Phoenix has actually been playing really well. Yeah, he's been playing really well. 80 points, 70 points, 80 points. Yeah, so I think I'm definitely going to start Phoenix this week, especially since Team Liquid has just got Energy and CLG, so Phoenix should be able to do fairly well against both those teams. I have Sven as my AD carry. Yeah, I'm definitely going to choose him over Laud. Hustlin as support, that's fine. And then for my flex pick, Laud has definitely been playing well, but Envy just has a really, really hard week, a much harder week than Giants. So if I'm looking at the points, I'm probably going to go with Knight as my flex, just because Envy has such a hard week this week. So I'll just hop over to the trade tab, see who's available. Ryu's available, Fabi's available. That's actually a really tough one. If I want to go with Laud or if I want to go with Fabi. If I look at the matchups for the 2 weeks, CLG, NRG for Liquid, Cloud9, and TSM for Envy, so a really hard week 8. And then week 9, they've got Phoenix and Echo Fox on Envy side. So that's a really good week 9 for Envy, while Liquid has Cloud9 and Apex, which is not as good. And since I already have Phoenix on the team, I think I'll probably keep Laud. I don't think I need Fabi this week. If I feel like I need Fabi this week to win, I might grab him and substitute him in for Knight. If I really need to feel like I need to go all in with Team Liquid, but I'll have to look at my matchups to really figure out. Looks like matchup wise, I'll probably do pretty well. The guy's got Piglet in right now, so Piglet's obviously not going to get any points. Yeah, I think I'm good for right now for this league. So I'll just hold off right now. I might grab Fabi later on. Okay, so let's look at my next fantasy league. I've got Ray in top lane, who I've been super impressed with. He's just been doing phenomenal. And then I've got Smitty J. Unfortunately, Apex has a really hard week this week. They're going up against Immortals and Echo Fox. Actually, I think Ray will do fine against Echo Fox, but Immortals knows that Ray is super vital to Apex, and they're going to focus him. They're going to shut him down. I do not expect Ray to get a lot of points against Immortals. On the opposite side, Smitty J, I think he's probably going to get more points this week. I think that Ray has definitely got higher point potential than Smitty J, but this week I think Smitty J is a safer pick. So I'm going to keep Smitty J in. For jungle, Trashy or Yankos? That's actually a really tough decision, all right? Because Splice has two really hard matchups in H2K and Fnatic. H2K only has one hard matchup in Splice. I feel like they should be able to beat Vitality. If we look at the previous points, Yankos definitely won. That was back in like week 3 and week 4 when Splice was still struggling and H2K was performing very well. And if we look at week by week, I mean, Splice has been on fire the past 2 weeks. They've done really well. I think they definitely have the potential to beat H2K. I don't think they're good enough to beat Fnatic. So I would feel like Yankos is a safer pick, but Trashy has higher point potential. So for right now, I'm going to start Yankos. If I feel like I have to go for some higher risk, I will substitute Trashy in. For mid lane, I have Bjergsen and I have Knight. I'm going to definitely keep Bjergsen in. For AD carry, I have Kabi and Wild Turtle. I'm definitely going to keep Wild Turtle in. For support, I have Hustlin, nobody else, so he'll obviously stay in. And then for my flex, my options are Knight, Trashy, Kabi, and Ray. So we look at the points. You know, Splice has definitely been on a roll this week, but they've got a very hard week this week. Giants definitely has an easier week, so I think I'm going to keep Knight in. But let's see who's available for trade. Oh, Sunstar's available, so that definitely makes things interesting. Whether I want to keep Kabi or whether I want to go for Sunstar. So, if I look at the schedule for EU, week 8, we already know that Splice has a good or a bad week and Giants has a good week. Week 9, Giants has Schalke and Rockhat, which is really favorable, while Splice has Unicorns of Love and Origin, which is a little bit higher risk. That's interesting. I think I'll hold on to Kabi for right now, because if they can actually do really well this week, then I'll be convinced that Splice is for real. And I've already got Knight and Hustlin and Smitty J. I don't want to become too Giants focused, just in case they like crash and burn this week or next week. So yeah, I think I'm good for this league. So yeah. All right, next league. My options are Odo or Smitty J. Yeah, like before, I think that Smitty J is actually going to do better. Yeah, so I'm going to keep Smitty J in. For jungle, I have Trashy and Proxen, and I know that Envy has a really hard week. Splice also has a really hard week, but I think they have a better chance than Envy does. So I'm going to put in Trashy. Mid lane, my options are Perks or Phoenix. If you look at historical, Phoenix has really come alive later in the split. So I would say that Perks is definitely kind of lower risk, but Phoenix has higher point potential. So I'm going to keep Perks in unless I feel like I need to go for a higher risk person. For AD carry, I have Sunstar and Wild Turtle. And I think I'm just going to keep Wild Turtle in. Look at the historical. I mean, there have been some weeks that, Sunstar's done better than Wild Turtle, but I think that Wild Turtle is the safer option for right now. So I'll also definitely keep Adrian in. The real question is, do I want to start Sunstar or Phoenix for my flex pick? So if we look at week to week, it actually looks like Phoenix has been more consistent week to week. Giants definitely had that week 7 hiccup. They went 0-2. This week, I mean, there's definitely potential for an upset here. I think I'm going to probably have to go with Phoenix for right now. And that'll also diversify my team since I'm already starting Smitty J. So that way, if I started Sunstar, then I'd have 2 Giants players, so that would put me at a higher risk. It would be a higher risk, but also a higher reward for my fantasy team. So if I feel like I need to go for higher risk, then I'll substitute back in Sunstar. Oh yeah, also I need to check to see if there's any trades that I could possibly make that are really good. Stixay is available, Lorlo's available. A couple NRG people. Yeah. CLJ might have a good week. I mean, they did play well this previous week, but I'm not convinced yet. So I'm gonna hold off on that. So I'll move on to the last fantasy league that I have. So my options are either Seraph or Wonder in the top lane. That's a really tough choice. So the question is, do I think Envy is going to do better against Cloud9 and TSM, or do I think Splice is going to do better against H2K and Fnatic? I feel like Splice actually has a decent chance against H2K. I don't really think that Envy has a chance against Cloud9 or TSM. So I think that at the very least, Splice can tie H2K. They could even tie Fnatic. I feel like there's a lot more versatility and upsets in EU than NA. And Wonder's been playing really well the past 2 weeks, so I think I have to start him over Seraph this week. For jungle, my options are Gilius or Yankos. So this is a tough one because Roccat has just been bleeding fantasy points for the enemy team. Like, any team that goes up against Roccat seems to rack up an absurd amount of fantasy points. G2 though, it's kind of hit or miss. Like, I think that Chalka could tie G2, and I definitely think they're gonna just crush Roccat. But it's really a question of who's got a better shot. So if we're looking at just points week to week, pretty even all throughout. I'm gonna gamble a little bit. No, I'll keep Yankos, and I think he's the safer pick. And then I'll look at the matchup, and if I feel like I need to gamble, then I'll put in Gilius. But I definitely think the Yankos is a safer pick, but Gilius has higher point potential. All right, Immortals. My options are Senkux or Pobelter. I think I'm definitely gonna keep Pobelter. Yep. AD carry, Fabi or Zven. Definitely keeping Zven. Support, I have Hustlin. That's fine. And then for flex, my options are Fabi, Senkux, Seraph, or Gilius. I think Fabi's going to win that pretty hands down. Yeah, Senkux could be a good choice, but they've got a much harder week than Team Liquid, so I'm going to keep Fabi in. And then my team is Giants. Let's see who's available for trade. Freeze, Lorlo, Darshan. I think I'm good to go on that. I don't think that H2K is going to get 62 points this week for a team. So yeah, I think my teams are good to go. Probably the best teams I can get this week. So the way I would look at things for you guys, for your fantasy leagues, is not just think about this week, but also think about next week. You saw that a couple of times I went over to these tabs and I looked at not only who each team is playing this week, but also who they're playing in week 9. And I'm trying to make the decisions based on not just who's going to do well this week, but also who's going to do well next week. So definitely look at the schedules for NA and EU and try to figure out which teams have the easier week 8 and week 9 so that you don't have to make a ton of trades and possibly not get the players you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I explained myself well. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the content on the channel, please subscribe. I hope you all have a great day. This is Randomonium signing off.